Long before England was England, in the land of the Geats, there lived a warrior whose strength was said to match that of 30 men in his grip alone. This is the story of Beowulf. Far across the sea, in the kingdom of the Danes, King Hrothgar had built a great mead hall called Heorot, a place of feasting, music, and joy. But for 12 long years, that joy had turned to terror. "Another watchman gone," a Danish soldier murmured, staring at the empty hall. "Grendel took him in the night, just like the others." "We cannot even defend our own hall anymore," another replied grimly. "No warrior who faces that beast returns to tell of it." Grendel was no ordinary beast. The old tales said he was descended from the biblical Cain, a creature cursed to wander in darkness, consumed with hatred for the sound of human joy. Word of the Danes' suffering traveled across the sea to the land of the Geats, where a young warrior named Beowulf heard the tale. 12 years this monster has terrorized King Hrothgar's hall," Beowulf said, gripping his sword. "I owe his people a great debt. It is time I repaid it." "You would face a creature that has slaughtered Denmark's finest warriors?" a fellow Geat asked in disbelief. "I have hunted sea monsters with my bare hands," Beowulf answered. "Grendel is only the next trial fate has set before me." Beowulf gathered 14 of his bravest men and set sail across the churning sea toward Denmark. Upon reaching Hrothgar's shores, Beowulf and his men were led to the great hall of Heorot, where the aging king awaited them. "I knew your father long ago," Hrothgar said, studying the young warrior. "But knowing your blood does not make me trust a stranger's boast. Why should I believe you can succeed where so many strong men have failed?" "I do not offer boasts, my king," Beowulf replied. "I offer my life. Tonight I will wait for Grendel in your hall, and I will fight him with my bare hands as he attacks unarmed men in the dark." That night, the feast in Heorot was filled with music and mead, but beneath the laughter lay a current of fear. "You truly mean to face him without a blade?" one of Hrothgar's men asked, unable to hide his astonishment. "A sword did not save the men before me," Beowulf said calmly. "Grendel's hide cannot be cut by any blade forged by man. Only strength against strength will settle this." As the hall fell silent and the warriors slept, or pretended to, a monstrous shadow crept through the darkness outside Heorot's doors. Grendel tore the great doors from their hinges and stepped into the hall, his eyes burning with a hunger for violence built over 12 long years. The monster seized a sleeping warrior first, devouring him instantly, then reached for Beowulf, expecting easy prey like all the others. But Beowulf's hand shot out and seized Grendel's arm in an iron grip, unlike anything the creature had ever felt. "You have preyed on sleeping men for 12 years, Beowulf growled, tightening his hold. "Tonight, you have finally met one who is awake." The two grappled violently, shaking the very timbers of the hall as tables shattered and benches were crushed beneath their struggle. Grendel shrieked in agony and disbelief, thrashing wildly to break free from a grip stronger than any he had ever known. With one final surge of strength, Beowulf tore Grendel's arm from its socket entirely, and the monster fled howling into the night, mortally wounded. The next morning, the people of Heorot followed a trail of dark blood leading to the edge of a distant swamp, where Grendel was believed to have died from his wound. "The hall is saved," Hrothgar declared, holding up Grendel's severed arm before his people. "Beowulf, you have done what no other warrior could. Denmark owes you an eternal debt." That night, a great feast was held in Beowulf's honor, with songs of his victory echoing through Heorot until the early hours of morning. But deep in the swamp, grief was turning to rage. Grendel's mother, an ancient and powerful creature of the deep waters, had learned of her son's death. While the hall slept in peaceful celebration, Grendel's mother slipped into Heorot in the dead of night, seeking vengeance for her son. She seized one of Hrothgar's most trusted advisors and vanished back into the darkness before any warrior could react. "She has taken Aesir," Hrothgar said the next morning, his voice heavy with grief. "My most loyal friend gone in an instant." "Where does she dwell?" Beowulf asked, already reaching for his weapons. "In a lake said to be bottomless," Hrothgar answered, a place where fire burns upon the water itself, and no man who has entered has ever returned. Then I will be the first, Beowulf said firmly. Grief must not go unanswered. I will finish what began in your hall. Beowulf and his men rowed to the edge of the monstrous lake, where the water churned dark and blood tainted its surface. This time take a blade, Hrothgar urged, offering Beowulf an ancient sword named Hrunting. Even your bare hands may not be enough beneath those waters. If I do not return, Beowulf said to his men, tell my people I died as I lived, seeking what was right, not what was easy. Beowulf dove into the churning lake and sank for what felt like hours before reaching the bottom, where Grendel's mother waited in an underwater cavern. The creature attacked instantly, and even Hrunting, the legendary blade, could not pierce her ancient hide, snapping uselessly against her skin. Beowulf cast the broken sword aside and grappled with Grendel's mother directly, the two locked in a brutal struggle within her lair. Just as the creature nearly overpowered him, Beowulf's hand found an enormous ancient sword forged by giants long ago, resting among the treasures of her lair. With a mighty swing, Beowulf struck true, and the giant's blade succeeded where Hrunting had failed, ending the creature's reign of vengeance forever. Beowulf rose from the lake carrying proof of his victory, and the Danish warriors who had given up hope watched in stunned disbelief as their hero emerged alive. It is done, Beowulf said, standing before Hrothgar's people, exhausted but triumphant. Your hall and your people are safe once more. King Hrothgar embraced Beowulf as a son, and the halls of Heorot rang once more with music, unshadowed by fear for the first time in over a decade. You have given my people back their joy, Hrothgar said. Your name will be remembered in every song sung in this hall for generations to come. Beowulf's fame spread across the northern lands, the young warrior who had faced two monsters and emerged victorious through sheer will and unmatched strength. But this was only the beginning of his legend. Years later, as an aging king himself, Beowulf would face one final trial, a battle against a dragon that would test him beyond even this. That, however, is a saga for another day.